In the heart of a dense forest, shrouded in a cloak of darkness that seemed to absorb every trace of light, lay an abandoned cabin. Its weathered exterior hinted at a forgotten past, while its shattered windows whispered tales of long-forgotten secrets. 3 adventurous friends, Mark, Sarah, and Jake, had heard whispers of the cabin's haunted history. Fueled by youthful bravado and a craving for excitement, they decided to spend a night within its eerie confines, determined to unravel its mysteries. As twilight surrendered to the enveloping darkness, they ventured into the woods, their footsteps echoing through the silent trees. The air grew thick with an unsettling chill, and the once familiar paths twisted and turned, leading them deeper into the wilderness. Finally, they stumbled upon the cabin, its silhouette looming ominously against the backdrop of the moonlit sky. Ignoring the warning bells that rang in the depths of their minds, they pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The interior was as desolate as the exterior, with dust-coated furniture and decaying remnants of a forgotten life. Despite their initial trepidation, they convinced themselves that the stories of haunting were nothing more than old wives' tales. As the night wore on, strange occurrences began to unfold. Shadows danced along the walls, seemingly alive with malevolent intent. Unearthly whispers echoed through the corridors, their words indiscernible yet chilling to the bone. With each passing hour, the cabin's grip on reality seemed to tighten, ensnaring the trio in a web of fear and paranoia. Doors slammed shut of their own accord, and ghastly apparitions materialized in the corners of their vision, only to vanish when approached. Fractured by fear and desperation, the friends turned on each other, their sanity slipping like grains of sand through trembling fingers. In the darkness of that forsaken cabin, they confronted the darkest recesses of their minds, haunted by visions too horrifying to comprehend. As dawn broke, its feeble light casting long shadows across the forest floor, rescuers stumbled upon the cabin. But it was too late. Mark was found lifeless on the floor, his eyes wide with terror, while Sarah and Jake were nowhere to be found. To this day, the forest whispers tales of the lost souls who dared to venture into its depths, their fates forever entwined with the haunted cabin that lies hidden amidst the trees. And those who dare to seek it out do so at their own peril, for the woods hold secrets that no mortal was ever meant to uncover. Years passed, and the abandoned cabin remained a forbidden enigma, its legend growing with each passing season. Locals spoke in hushed tones of the ill-fated trio and warned curious travelers to steer clear of the cursed woods. But despite the warnings, whispers of the cabin's haunting persisted, drawing thrill-seekers and skeptics alike to its sinister embrace. Among them was a group of university students, eager to debunk the supernatural rumors and capture evidence of the paranormal on camera. Armed with equipment and bravado, the group ventured into the woods, their laughter masking the unease that gnawed at their resolve. As night descended, they reached the cabin, its dilapidated frame a stark reminder of the horrors that lurked within. Undeterred by the foreboding atmosphere, they set up their equipment and began their investigation, their cameras recording every creak and groan of the decaying structure. But as the night wore on, their skepticism waned, replaced by a creeping sense of dread that tightened its grip with each passing hour. Strange phenomena plagued their efforts, from inexplicable cold spots to disembodied voices that whispered their names in the darkness. The very air seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, suffocating in its intensity. One by one, the students succumbed to the terror that permeated the cabin, their resolve crumbling like brittle parchment in the face of the unknown. Desperate to escape the encroaching horror, they fled into the night, their screams swallowed by the oppressive silence of the forest. Only one among them, a skeptic named Emily, remained behind, determined to capture evidence of the supernatural. Armed with her camera, she ventured deeper into the cabin, her footsteps echoing in the empty corridors like a death knell. But as she delved into the heart of the darkness, Emily uncovered more than she had bargained for. Shadows stirred in the corners of her vision, and unseen hands brushed against her skin with icy fingers. And when she finally turned her camera towards the abyss, she beheld a sight that chilled her to the marrow. In the flickering light of her camera, the spirits of the cabin's victims materialized, their faces twisted in agony and despair. They reached out to her with spectral hands, their silent screams echoing in the confines of her mind. With a strangled cry, Emily fled from the cabin, her camera clutched tightly in trembling hands. But the horrors she had witnessed refused to be forgotten, haunting her dreams and gnawing at her sanity until she could bear the weight of their gaze no longer. And so, the legend of the haunted cabin in the woods grew, its secrets buried beneath layers of fear and disbelief. But those who dared to seek it out would do well to heed its warning, for some truths are too terrifying to be uncovered. Years passed, and the legend of the haunted cabin persisted, ingrained in the fabric of the forest like an ancient curse. Emily, the sole survivor of that fateful night, retreated from the world, haunted by the specters that had pursued her from the depths of the woods. But as time wore on, the memories of that night began to fade, replaced by the mundanity of everyday life. Emily convinced herself that it had all been a trick of the mind, a shared hallucination brought on by fear and exhaustion. Yet, despite her best efforts to bury the past, the cabin's call remained ever present, a siren song that beckoned her back to the heart of the darkness. Night after night, she would lie awake, tormented by visions of the abandoned structure and the souls that lingered within its walls. Driven by a restless curiosity and a desperate need for closure, Emily resolved to return to the cabin, to confront the demons that had plagued her for so long. Armed with little more than her courage and the dim light of a flickering lantern, she ventured once more into the depths of the forest. The journey was fraught with peril, the path obscured by twisting roots and gnarled branches that seemed to reach out to ensnare her. But Emily pressed on, her determination unyielding in the face of the unknown. As she approached the cabin, a sense of déjà vu washed over her, its dilapidated frame a familiar sight against the backdrop of the moonlit sky. But this time, there was no fear in her heart, only a steely resolve to uncover the truth. With trembling hands, Emily pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside, the musty air heavy with the weight of untold secrets. Shadows danced along the walls, casting eerie shapes that seemed to shift and writhe in the darkness. But Emily paid them no mind, her focus fixed on the task at hand. With each step, she retraced the path she had taken on that fateful night, her lantern casting a feeble light on the forgotten remnants of a life long past. And then, she saw it. Etched into the wall, hidden beneath layers of dust and decay, were the names of those who had perished within the cabin's cursed embrace. Mark, Sarah, Jake. Their names stood as a grim testament to the horrors they had endured. But as Emily reached out to touch the faded letters, a chill ran down her spine. For in that moment, she realized that she was not alone. The spirits of the cabin's victims surrounded her, their ethereal forms coalescing into a swirling vortex of anguish and despair. With a final, desperate plea for forgiveness, Emily closed her eyes and embraced the darkness, knowing that she would never escape the haunted legacy of the cabin in the woods. And as the forest reclaimed her, swallowing her whole, the legend lived on, a testament to the enduring power of fear and the darkness that lies within us all. The forest fell silent once more, its secrets buried beneath layers of fallen leaves and forgotten whispers. The cabin, shrouded in darkness, stood as a solemn sentinel, its haunted halls a testament to the souls that had perished within its grasp. But as the seasons passed and the memories of Emily's encounter faded into myth, a new chapter began to unfold. Travelers who dared to venture into the woods spoke of strange phenomena, of disembodied voices that whispered secrets in the night and shadows that moved of their own accord. Rumors spread like wildfire, drawing thrill seekers and paranormal investigators from far and wide in search of the truth. Among them was a young woman named Lily, whose fascination with the supernatural led her to the heart of the forest and the abandoned cabin that lay hidden within. Armed with an array of cameras and recording equipment, Lily embarked on her quest, determined to capture evidence of the paranormal and unlock the mysteries of the cabin's haunted past. With each step, she felt the weight of history pressing down upon her, a tangible presence that sent shivers down her spine. As night fell and the forest came alive with the symphony of nocturnal creatures, Lily made her way to the cabin, her heart pounding in anticipation. The air grew thick with anticipation, charged with an energy that crackled in the darkness like lightning. With trembling hands, Lily pushed open the cabin door and stepped inside, her senses on high alert. The interior was as she had imagined it, desolate and foreboding, with the faint scent of decay hanging in the air like a shroud. Undeterred by the oppressive atmosphere, Lily set up her equipment and began her investigation, her camera trained on every shadowy corner and whispered echo. Hours passed in a blur, the minutes stretching into eternity as she delved deeper into the heart of the darkness. And then, it happened. A flicker of movement caught Lily's eye, a shadowy figure that danced along the edge of her vision. With bated breath, she turned her camera towards the apparition, her heart racing in anticipation. What she captured in that moment would haunt her for the rest of her days. The figure, blurred and indistinct, seemed to materialize out of thin air, its features twisted in a grotesque parody of humanity. But as Lily watched in horror, the figure drew closer, its form solidifying with each passing second. And then, with a bone-chilling scream, it lunged towards her, its spectral hands reaching out to claim her as its own. With a surge of adrenaline, Lily fled from the cabin, her footsteps echoing in the silence of the forest as she raced towards safety. Behind her, the cabin loomed like a specter in the night, its secrets forever shrouded in darkness. And though Lily escaped with her life, she knew that she would never truly be free from the horrors that lurked within the haunted woods. For some truths are too terrifying to be uncovered, and some mysteries are best left unsolved. As Lily burst through the thick undergrowth, her heart pounding in her chest, she stumbled into a clearing bathed in the soft glow of the moon. Relief washed over her like a tidal wave as she collapsed to her knees, gasping for breath. But her respite was short-lived, for as she looked back towards the forest, she saw it. The cabin, engulfed in an otherworldly glow, seemed to pulsate with a malevolent energy that sent shivers down her spine. And then, without warning, the ground beneath her began to shake, the earth trembling with an unseen force. Trees swayed and branches cracked, and a deafening roar filled the air as the very fabric of reality seemed to unravel before her eyes. With a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach, Lily realized the truth. The cabin was not just haunted, it was a gateway to something far darker, something ancient and unspeakable that hungered for release. Driven by instinct and sheer determination, Lily staggered to her feet, her eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of energy that loomed before her. With a final, desperate cry, she threw herself forward, plunging headfirst into the heart of the darkness. And then, in a blinding flash of light, it was over. The forest fell silent once more, the chaos and destruction giving way to an eerie stillness that hung in the air like a heavy fog. As dawn broke on the horizon, casting its feeble light across the landscape, there was no sign of Lily or the haunted cabin that had once stood in the heart of the woods. And though the memory of her ordeal would haunt her for the rest of her days, she knew that she had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. For in that moment, Lily had become more than just a witness to the supernatural, she had become a guardian of the light, a beacon of hope in a world consumed by darkness. And though the forest would forever hold its secrets, she knew that she would never be afraid again. In the depths of the sprawling pine ridge forest, where the trees loomed tall and the shadows grew long, there stood an abandoned mansion known as Whispering Oaks. Its crumbling facade and overgrown grounds hinted at a bygone era of opulence, but beneath the surface lurked a darkness that no amount of grandeur could disguise. Legend had it that the mansion was cursed, its halls haunted by the restless spirits of those who had met their untimely end within its walls. Tales of inexplicable phenomena and unexplained disappearances had earned it a reputation as the most haunted place in the county. Despite the warnings of the locals, a group of thrill-seekers decided to spend a night within the mansion's haunted confines. Among them were Alex, a skeptic who scoffed at the notion of ghosts, and his friends, Sarah and Matt, who were eager to experience the supernatural firsthand. As they made their way through the dense forest, their footsteps muffled by fallen leaves, a sense of unease settled over the group. The air grew thick with anticipation, tinged with a hint of something sinister that sent shivers down their spines. Finally, they reached Whispering Oaks, its looming silhouette a stark contrast against the moonlit sky. Ignoring the voice of reason that whispered in the back of their minds, they pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The interior was as grand as it was eerie, with ornate furnishings and faded tapestries that spoke of a time long past. But as they explored the mansion's labyrinthine corridors, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As night fell and the darkness descended like a suffocating blanket, strange occurrences began to unfold. Doors slammed shut of their own accord, and chilling whispers echoed through the empty halls, their words indiscernible yet unmistakably malevolent. Despite their growing unease, Alex, Sarah, and Matt pressed on with their investigation, determined to uncover the truth behind the mansion's haunted reputation. But as the hours passed, their bravado waned, replaced by a gnawing sense of dread that tightened its grip with each passing moment. It wasn't long before they realized that they were not alone in the mansion. Shadowy figures lurked in the corners of their vision, their spectral forms flickering in and out of existence like wraiths in the night. With each encounter, the veil between the living and the dead grew thinner, until it seemed as though the very fabric of reality was unraveling before their eyes. And in the heart of the darkness, they came face to face with the true horror of Whispering Oaks. The mansion itself seemed to come alive, its walls pulsating with an otherworldly energy that threatened to consume them whole. Desperate to escape the encroaching darkness, Alex, Sarah, and Matt fled deeper into the mansion's depths, their footsteps echoing in the empty halls like a death knell. But no matter how far they ran, the darkness pursued them, its icy tendrils reaching out to drag them into the abyss. And as they stood on the brink of oblivion, they realized that the only way to escape the mansion's curse was to confront the source of its power head-on. With a steely resolve born of desperation, they ventured into the mansion's hidden chamber, where they discovered the truth behind Whispering Oaks' haunted legacy. Long ago, the mansion had been the site of unspeakable atrocities, its former inhabitants driven mad by greed and ambition. In their quest for power, they had made a pact with dark forces beyond their comprehension, unleashing a malevolent entity that had consumed them from within. And now, trapped within the mansion's cursed walls, they sought to claim new victims to satisfy their endless hunger for souls. But Alex, Sarah, and Matt refused to be cowed by the darkness that threatened to engulf them. With the last shreds of their courage, they confronted the entity head-on, their combined willpower enough to banish it back to the depths of the abyss from whence it came. As dawn broke on the horizon, casting its golden light across the forest, Alex, Sarah, and Matt emerged from Whispering Oaks, their souls battered but unbroken. And though the mansion would forever be remembered as a place of terror and despair, they knew that they had triumphed over the darkness and emerged victorious in the face of unimaginable evil. The trio emerged from Whispering Oaks, their bodies weary and minds haunted by the horrors they had witnessed. The first light of dawn filtered through the dense canopy of trees, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch endlessly into the forest. As they stumbled out into the clearing, relief washed over them like a cool breeze, lifting the heavy weight of fear from their shoulders. For a moment, they allowed themselves to bask in the warmth of the rising sun, grateful to be alive and free from the clutches of the mansion's curse. But their respite was short-lived, for as they turned to leave the forest behind, they heard it. A low, guttural growl that echoed through the trees, sending a chill down their spines. With mounting dread, they realized that they were not alone in the forest. Something lurked in the shadows, something ancient and malevolent that hungered for revenge. Ignoring the voice of reason that urged them to flee, Alex, Sarah, and Matt pressed on, their footsteps quickening as the growls grew louder and more insistent. They knew that they had to confront the source of the darkness once and for all, or risk being consumed by it. Guided by instinct and sheer determination, they followed the sound deeper into the forest, their senses on high alert. The air grew thick with anticipation, charged with an energy that crackled in the air like electricity. And then, they saw it. A creature of pure darkness, its form shifting and twisting in the dappled light of the forest. Its eyes gleamed with a malevolent light, its snarling jaws dripping with saliva as it stalked towards them. With a primal roar, the creature lunged forward, its claws slashing through the air with deadly precision. But Alex, Sarah, and Matt were ready, their resolve unyielding in the face of danger. Armed with nothing but their courage and the strength of their bond, they fought back against the darkness, their blows striking true against their otherworldly foe. With each strike, the creature weakened, its form flickering and fading like a dying ember. And then, with one final, desperate push, they banished the creature back into the depths of the forest, its anguished cries echoing through the trees like a lament for the fallen. As they stood amidst the wreckage of their battle, their bodies battered but unbowed, Alex, Sarah, and Matt knew that they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. And though the scars of their ordeal would linger for a lifetime, they took solace in the knowledge that they had triumphed over evil and emerged stronger than ever before. With newfound resolve, they turned their backs on the forest and the horrors it contained, knowing that they would never again be afraid of the darkness that lurked within. For they had proven that even in the face of unimaginable terror, the light of courage and friendship would always prevail. As they made their way out of the forest, the sun rose higher in the sky, casting a warm glow that banished the lingering shadows of the night. With each step, the weight of their ordeal seemed to lift, replaced by a sense of triumph and newfound strength. As they emerged from the edge of the forest, they were met with the sight of their waiting car, a beacon of safety amidst the trees. With a collective sigh of relief, they climbed inside, the engine roaring to life as they left the haunted woods behind them. The journey home was filled with a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration, their minds racing with the memories of their harrowing adventure. They spoke little, each lost in their own thoughts, but there was a bond between them now that could never be broken. As they reached the safety of their homes, they parted ways, knowing that they would carry the memories of their ordeal with them forever. But they also knew that they had emerged from the darkness stronger than ever before, united by their shared experience and the knowledge that they could overcome anything as long as they stood together. In the days and weeks that followed, the memory of Whispering Oaks faded into legend, a cautionary tale told around campfires and whispered in hushed tones. But for Alex, Sarah, and Matt, it would always be more than just a story, it would be a reminder of the power of courage, friendship, and the indomitable human spirit. And though they would never forget the horrors they had faced in the heart of the forest, they would also never forget the triumph of overcoming them. For in the end, it was not the darkness that defined them, but the light that shone from within, guiding them through even the darkest of nights. In the days following their encounter with the darkness of Whispering Oaks, Alex, Sarah, and Matt found themselves drawn closer together, bound by the shared experience of their ordeal. They met often to recount the events of that fateful night, finding solace in each other's company and strength in their unity. But as time passed, they couldn't shake the feeling that their adventure was far from over. Whispers of other haunted places and unsolved mysteries echoed in the corners of their minds, tempting them with the promise of new challenges and untold secrets. Driven by their insatiable curiosity and thirst for adventure, they embarked on a series of expeditions into the unknown, each one more perilous than the last. From abandoned asylums to forgotten graveyards, they sought out the darkest corners of the world, determined to uncover the truth behind the legends that had captivated their imaginations. But with each new adventure came new dangers, and they soon found themselves facing threats far greater than they had ever imagined. From vengeful spirits to ancient curses, they battled forces beyond their comprehension, risking life and limb in their quest for knowledge. Yet through it all, they remained undeterred, drawing strength from the bond that united them and the knowledge that they were not alone in their struggle. Together, they faced down the darkness, emerging victorious time and time again, their courage shining like a beacon in the night. And as they continued on their journey, they discovered that the truest adventures were not found in the pages of books or the depths of the unknown, but in the hearts of those who dared to dream and the friendships that stood the test of time. For Alex, Sarah, and Matt, the journey was far from over, but they knew that as long as they had each other, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage, determination, and the unshakable belief that the light would always triumph over the darkness. In their final adventure, they found themselves standing at the precipice of a towering cliff, the roar of the ocean crashing against the rocks below echoing in their ears. Before them lay the entrance to an ancient temple, hidden deep within the jungle, its secrets guarded by centuries of forgotten lore. With a shared glance and a silent nod, they knew that this would be their greatest challenge yet. Together, they descended into the depths of the temple, their footsteps echoing in the darkness like a drumbeat heralding their arrival. As they delved deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, they encountered traps and puzzles designed to test their wits and strength. But they pressed on, fueled by the knowledge that the answers they sought lay just beyond their reach. Finally, they reached the heart of the temple, where a great chamber lay bathed in an ethereal light. And there, amidst the ancient relics and crumbling statues, they found what they had been searching for all along, the key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe. With trembling hands, they reached out and grasped the artifact, its power coursing through their veins like lightning. But as they prepared to make their escape, they felt a tremor shake the very foundations of the temple, signaling the awakening of an ancient evil that had lain dormant for centuries. With no time to spare, they raced against the clock, dodging falling debris and crumbling walls as they fought their way to freedom. And as they emerged from the temple, victorious but battered, they knew that their journey was far from over. For though they had unlocked the secrets of the universe, they had also unleashed forces beyond their control. And as they stood on the edge of the cliff, gazing out at the horizon stretching endlessly before them, they knew that their greatest adventure was yet to come. With a shared laugh and a sense of anticipation, they leaped into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage, determination, and the unwavering belief that together, they could overcome anything. And as they disappeared into the mist, their laughter mingling with the roar of the ocean below, they knew that their story was far from over. For Alex, Sarah, and Matt were not just adventurers, they were legends in the making, destined to carve their names into the annals of history for all eternity. In the heart of the sprawling Blackwood Forest, where ancient trees whispered secrets to the wind and the shadows seemed to dance with a life of their own, stood an old, dilapidated mansion known as Ravenscroft Manor. Its towering spires and crumbling facade loomed ominously against the backdrop of the moonlit sky, casting a pall of darkness over the surrounding landscape. Legends whispered of Ravenscroft Manor's dark past, tales of tragedy and betrayal that had left a stain on its once grand halls. Some said the mansion was cursed, haunted by the spirits of those who had met their untimely end within its walls. Others claimed that it was home to something far more sinister, a malevolent force that fed on the fear of the living. Despite the warnings of the locals, a group of intrepid explorers ventured into the forest one fateful night, drawn by the allure of Ravenscroft Manor's haunted reputation. Among them were Emily, a skeptic who scoffed at the notion of ghosts, and her friends, David and Rachel, who were eager to experience the supernatural firsthand. As they made their way through the dense undergrowth, the forest seemed to close in around them, the trees bending and twisting as if to block their path. But undeterred by the eerie atmosphere, they pressed on, their footsteps echoing through the silent woods. Finally, they reached Ravenscroft Manor, its looming silhouette sending a chill down their spines. Ignoring the voice of reason that urged them to turn back, they pushed open the heavy iron gates and stepped into the mansion's overgrown courtyard. The interior was as grand as it was eerie, with faded wallpaper peeling from the walls and dust-coated furniture shrouded in cobwebs. But as they explored the mansion's labyrinthine corridors, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As night fell and the darkness enveloped the mansion like a shroud, strange occurrences began to unfold. Doors slammed shut of their own accord, and eerie whispers echoed through the empty halls, their words too faint to discern but filled with an unmistakable sense of menace. Undeterred by the mounting sense of dread, Emily, David, and Rachel pressed on with their investigation, determined to uncover the truth behind Ravenscroft Manor's haunted reputation. But as the hours passed, their resolve began to wane, replaced by a gnawing sense of fear that tightened its grip with each passing moment. It wasn't long before they realized that they were not alone in the mansion. Shadowy figures lurked in the corners of their vision, their ghostly forms flickering in and out of existence like phantoms in the night. With each encounter, the veil between the living and the dead grew thinner, until it seemed as though the very fabric of reality was unraveling before their eyes. And in the heart of the darkness, they came face to face with the true horror of Ravenscroft Manor. The mansion itself seemed to come alive, its walls pulsating with an otherworldly energy that threatened to consume them whole. Desperate to escape the encroaching darkness, Emily, David, and Rachel fled deeper into the mansion's depths, their footsteps echoing in the empty halls like a death knell. But no matter how far they ran, the darkness pursued them, its icy tendrils reaching out to drag them into the abyss. And as they stood on the brink of oblivion, they realized that the only way to escape the mansion's curse was to confront the source of its power head-on. With a steely resolve born of desperation, they ventured into the mansion's hidden chamber, where they discovered the truth behind Ravenscroft Manor's haunted legacy. Long ago, the mansion had been the site of unspeakable atrocities, its former inhabitants driven mad by greed and ambition. In their quest for power, they had made a pact with dark forces beyond their comprehension, unleashing a malevolent entity that had consumed them from within. And now, trapped within the mansion's cursed walls, they sought to claim new victims to satisfy their endless hunger for souls. But Emily, David, and Rachel refused to be cowed by the darkness that threatened to engulf them. With the last shreds of their courage, they confronted the entity head-on, their combined willpower enough to banish it back to the depths of the abyss from whence it came. As dawn broke on the horizon, casting its feeble light across the forest, Emily, David, and Rachel emerged from Ravenscroft Manor, their souls battered but unbowed. And though the mansion would forever be remembered as a place of terror and despair, they knew that they had triumphed over the darkness and emerged victorious in the face of unimaginable evil. With newfound resolve, they turned their backs on the mansion and the horrors it contained, knowing that they would never again be afraid of the darkness that lurked within. For they had proven that even in the face of unimaginable terror, the light of courage and friendship would always prevail. As they emerged from Ravenscroft Manor, the first rays of dawn pierced through the thick canopy of trees, casting a golden hue over the forest. Emily, David, and Rachel stood outside the mansion, their breaths visible in the chilly morning air, their hearts still racing from the horrors they had faced inside. Though the darkness of the night had receded, its lingering presence seemed to cling to the edges of their consciousness, a reminder of the terrors they had encountered. Yet, as they looked at each other, they found strength in the bond that had carried them through the ordeal. Without a word, they began their journey back through the forest, their steps lighter now, their minds filled with a mix of relief and disbelief at their victory over the malevolent force that had haunted Ravenscroft Manor. As they walked, the sun climbed higher in the sky, its warm rays banishing the last vestiges of night and bathing the forest in a gentle light. Birds sang in the trees, their cheerful melodies a stark contrast to the darkness they had just left behind. Hours passed as they made their way through the forest, each step bringing them closer to safety and the promise of home. And when at last they emerged from the trees, they were greeted by the sight of their waiting car, a symbol of freedom and escape from the horrors of the night. With a sense of relief washing over them, they climbed inside the car, the engine roaring to life as they left Ravenscroft Manor and the haunted forest behind them. The road stretched out before them, winding through the countryside like a ribbon of asphalt leading them back to reality. As they drove, they spoke little, each lost in their own thoughts, their minds still reeling from the events of the night. But there was a newfound closeness between them, a bond forged in the crucible of fear and survival, that would stay with them long after the memories of Ravenscroft Manor had faded. And though they knew that the darkness would always exist, lurking in the shadows and waiting to strike, they also knew that they would face it together, armed with the courage and strength that had carried them through the darkest of nights. As they drove off into the distance, the sun setting behind them like a beacon of hope, they knew that their adventure was far from over. For Emily, David, and Rachel, the journey had only just begun, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage, determination, and the unwavering belief that the light would always triumph over the darkness. As the car rolled along the winding road, Emily, David, and Rachel found themselves enveloped in a silence that spoke volumes. Each of them was lost in their own thoughts, replaying the harrowing events of the night at Ravenscroft Manor. The memory of the malevolent entity and the eerie whispers still lingered in their minds, casting a shadow over their otherwise tranquil surroundings. Outside the car windows, the landscape shifted from the dense forest to open fields dotted with quaint farmhouses. The sun, now high in the sky, bathed the countryside in a warm, golden light, signaling the arrival of a new day. But despite the brightness of the morning, a sense of unease still hung heavy in the air. It wasn't until they reached the outskirts of their hometown that Emily finally broke the silence. "We made it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We actually made it out of there alive." David nodded solemnly, his grip tight on the steering wheel. "I still can't believe what we went through," he replied, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. "I never want to set foot in that mansion again." Rachel, who had been gazing out the window, turned to look at her friends. "But think of everything we learned," she said, a hint of excitement in her voice. "We faced our fears head-on and came out stronger because of it. And who knows what other mysteries are out there waiting to be discovered." Despite her words, there was a flicker of uncertainty in Rachel's eyes. The events of the night had left a mark on all of them, a reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that lurked just beyond the edges of reality. As they pulled into Emily's driveway, the weight of their shared experience hung heavy in the air. But as they stepped out of the car and bid each other farewell, there was a sense of camaraderie that bound them together, a silent promise to always have each other's backs no matter what. As Emily watched her friends drive off into the distance, she couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the bond they shared. Though their adventure at Ravenscroft Manor had been terrifying beyond measure, it had also brought them closer together in ways she never could have imagined. As she made her way inside her house, the memories of the night began to fade, replaced by a sense of peace and gratitude for the safety of home. And though she knew that the darkness would always exist, lurking in the shadows and waiting to strike, she also knew that she would face it with courage and determination, armed with the knowledge that she was never truly alone. For Emily, David, and Rachel, the journey was far from over. But as they settled back into their lives, they did so with a newfound sense of purpose and a deep-rooted belief that no matter what trials lay ahead, they would face them together, united in their bond of friendship and the unwavering strength of the human spirit. In the days that followed their harrowing experience at Ravenscroft Manor, Emily, David, and Rachel found themselves grappling with the aftermath of their encounter with the supernatural. Though they tried to resume their normal lives, the memory of the malevolent entity and the eerie whispers that had plagued them in the mansion continued to haunt their thoughts. Despite their best efforts to push the memories aside, they found themselves drawn back to the mysteries of the occult. Late-night conversations turned to theories about the nature of the entity they had encountered and the dark forces that had driven the events at Ravenscroft Manor. Unable to shake the feeling that their adventure was far from over, they began to delve deeper into the lore surrounding the supernatural. They pored over ancient texts and obscure manuscripts, searching for clues that might lead them to answers about the true nature of the darkness that lurked in the shadows. But the more they uncovered, the more they realized that they were treading into dangerous territory. Dark forces seemed to be at work, thwarting their efforts at every turn and leading them deeper into a web of intrigue and danger. Yet, despite the risks, they pressed on, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a desire to uncover the truth. They embarked on new adventures, exploring haunted locations and delving into the secrets of the occult, each step bringing them closer to the heart of the darkness that had consumed Ravenscroft Manor. As they journeyed deeper into the unknown, they encountered new challenges and adversaries, from vengeful spirits to ancient curses that threatened to ensnare them in their grasp. But with each trial, they grew stronger, their bond of friendship serving as a beacon of light in the ever-growing darkness. And then, one fateful night, they stumbled upon a discovery that would change everything. Hidden deep within the pages of an ancient tome, they found a ritual that promised to banish the darkness once and for all. With a mixture of excitement and trepidation, they set out to perform the ritual, unaware of the dangers that lay ahead. As they stood on the threshold of the unknown, their hearts filled with determination and their minds focused on their goal, they knew that they were about to embark on their greatest adventure yet. With the fate of the world hanging in the balance, they would face the darkness head-on, armed with nothing but their courage and the unwavering belief that together, they could overcome anything. And as they prepared to confront the forces of evil that threatened to consume them, they knew that their journey was far from over. For Emily, David, and Rachel, the truest adventure was just beginning, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage, determination, and the unshakable belief that the light would always triumph over the darkness. As the ritual reached its climax, a surge of energy rippled through the air, crackling with an otherworldly power that seemed to defy comprehension. Emily, David, and Rachel stood at the center of the swirling vortex, their voices raised in a chorus of ancient incantations as they called upon the forces of light to banish the darkness once and for all. The air hummed with anticipation as the ritual neared its conclusion, the very fabric of reality seeming to warp and shift around them. And then, with a blinding flash of light, the darkness was vanquished, its malevolent presence dissipating like smoke in the wind. As the dust settled and the echoes of their incantations faded into the night, Emily, David, and Rachel found themselves standing in a new world, one free from the taint of evil that had plagued them for so long. The air was filled with a sense of peace and tranquility, a stark contrast to the chaos and uncertainty that had defined their journey thus far. With a sense of relief washing over them like a tidal wave, they embraced each other, their hearts overflowing with gratitude and joy. For they knew that they had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, their bond of friendship stronger than ever before. And as they stood amidst the ruins of their greatest challenge yet, they knew that their adventure was far from over. For though they had banished the darkness from their world, there would always be new mysteries to uncover, new challenges to overcome, and new adventures to embark upon. With a shared smile and a sense of excitement for the future, they turned their backs on the shadows of the past and stepped forward into the light, ready to face whatever the world had in store for them. For Emily, David, and Rachel, the journey was far from over, but they knew that as long as they stood together, they could overcome anything that came their way. And so, with their heads held high and their hearts filled with hope, they set off into the unknown, ready to write the next chapter of their extraordinary adventure. For theirs was a story of courage, friendship, and the triumph of light over darkness, a tale that would echo through the ages as a testament to the power of the human spirit.